My vision narrowed to a pinpoint as the words on my phone screen burned into my retinas. "Your grandmother is still here. No one's come." The message from an airport staffer I'd never met sent electricity through my fingertips. I glanced at the time. 6:20 p.m. Grandma Olivia's flight had landed at 9:15 a.m. 9 hours, alone. The three investment bankers across the polished conference table stared at me, their expressions morphing from annoyance to confusion as I abruptly stood, the legs of my chair scraping against hardwood. The lead investor, a silver-haired man who managed billions, tapped his Mont Blanc pen impatiently. "Ms. Riley, we're in the middle of negotiating a $26 million deal. Whatever it is can wait." I met his gaze, my voice unnaturally steady. "Number? It can't." My name is Nicole. I'm 33 and a venture capital executive. This is the story of how I learned that family loyalty is measured in actions, not intentions. I'd spent 6 months architecting this deal, positioning my firm to finance a biotech startup that could revolutionize cancer treatment. Just moments earlier, we'd been haggling over a single percentage point of equity, a battle worth millions. Now that negotiation felt as substantial as smoke. The lead investor's jaw tightened. "You're walking away? Now?" I snapped my briefcase shut, the sound like a gunshot in the silent room. My 83-year-old grandmother has been abandoned at an airport for 9 hours by my family. I will not be the next person to fail her. I didn't wait for his response. The glass-walled conference room, the San Francisco skyline, the nervous glances of my assistant, it all blurred together as I headed for the elevator. Grandma Olivia had been the only constant in my childhood. When I was 7, my parents forgot to attend my parent-teacher conference. After waiting an hour, my classroom door creaked open, and there stood Grandma Olivia, having taken 2 buses to get there. "I'm sorry for the mix-up," she told my teacher, never revealing my parents' neglect. "Tell me about my brilliant Nicole." She taught me to read using her worn copies of Sherlock Holmes. When I had the flu, she made weak tea with honey and told me stories of growing up on her family's apple orchard. Every birthday, without fail, a card would arrive with a crisp $5 bill tucked inside. Even when I was a teenager and $5 wasn't much, it was never about the money. It was about being remembered. As I grew older, I witnessed how the rest of my family treated her. My mother, her daughter, would sigh heavily whenever Grandma called, holding the phone away as if her mother's voice were an irritant. My aunts, Patricia and Rachel, treated her like a free babysitter and errand runner. "Mom, can you pick up my dry cleaning? Mom, can you watch the kids Saturday? We have a thing." Never a please. Never a thank you. Just expectation. My brother Tyler, 2 years older, learned from their example. He'd visit only when he needed money, putting on a brief show of affection before getting to his real reason. They saw her as a utility, a resource that would never run out. One Christmas Eve, when I was 19 and home from college, Grandma Olivia spent 2 days baking her famous gingerbread cookies. She brought them in a festive tin. My Aunt Patricia took one look and said, "Oh, Mom, you shouldn't have. We have tons of desserts already." She didn't even taste one. I watched Grandma's face. She tried to smile, but I caught the flicker of hurt in her eyes before she masked it. Later, I found her washing dishes, her back to the noise of the party. I stood beside her and started drawing. "Their loss," I said quietly. "Those are the best cookies in the world." She patted my hand. "You're a good girl, Nicole." She didn't say anything else, but I knew. I knew she felt the casual dismissal, the feeling of being an afterthought. This wasn't a one-time thing. It was a constant drumbeat of neglect. They forgot to invite her to family dinners. They made plans in front of her that didn't include her. I was the only one who seemed to see it, and my frustration grew into a quiet anger that sat in my chest for years. I tried talking to my mom about it once. "Why are you always so short with Grandma?" She looked defensive. "What are you talking about? I love my mother." "Love is a verb, Mom. It's in what you do. You roll your eyes when she calls. You act like visiting her is a chore." "You don't understand, Nicole," she snapped. "I have a busy life. You'll get it when you're older." But I was getting older, and I understood it even less. Which brings us to last week. The family had planned a big reunion at a rented cabin in Lake Tahoe. A full week of forced fun and picture-perfect moments for social media. My mom was the lead organizer, which meant it was all about appearances. I had a major business deal I couldn't reschedule, so I told them I couldn't make it for the whole week but promised to fly in for the final day. Grandma Olivia was flying in from Portland on Friday. She was 83 and still healthy, but traveling alone was stressful for her. The plan was discussed in the family group chat for weeks. My mom texted, period. Who can get Grandma from the airport on Friday? Her flight lands at 9:15 a.m. Aunt Patricia replied, period. I can't. I have a hair appointment at 10 a.m. Aunt Rachel. Josh has a soccer game. I'll be on the other side of town. My brother Tyler. I'm driving up early to get the boat in the water. Can't do it. The excuses piled up. I was in San Francisco, a 4-hour drive from Reno Tahoe Airport, and I was in the middle of the most critical negotiation of my career. Finally, my mom sent a message. Don't worry, everyone. Between all of us who will be there, we'll figure it out. Someone will get her. She won't be left alone. A classic non-commitment, a vague promise allowing everyone to assume someone else would handle it. I felt that familiar unease. I texted my mom privately. Mom, please make sure someone has a firm plan to pick up Grandma. Don't just figure it out. She replied with a thumbs up emoji. That was it. I should have known. I should have called Grandma and told her to take a cab and I would pay for it. But I didn't. I trusted for one foolish moment that they would act like decent human beings. I trusted that her own daughters would not forget their mother. Friday afternoon found me in that glass-walled conference room, arguing over that single percentage point in equity. That's when my phone buzzed. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. I shot an annoyed glance at my assistant, Zoe, who gave me a look I'd never seen before, a mix of panic and urgency. She slid her phone onto the table. On the screen was an email she'd received. Subject line, urgent, family member of Nicole Riley. The email was from a TSA supervisor at Reno Tahoe International Airport, forwarded through my company's general contact line because they couldn't find a direct number for me. When Grandma's phone died, she had shown the airport staff my business card that she always kept in her wallet, the one I'd given her with instructions to call if she ever needed me. That's how they found my company's contact information. We have an elderly passenger, Olivia Myers, 83, who has been sitting at Gate C5 since her flight landed this morning. She has been here for over 8 hours. She seems confused and says her family was supposed to pick her up. Her phone battery is dead. 8 hours. She'd been sitting there alone for 8 hours. My mind flashed through the family group chat. Not my mom, who was probably coordinating the welcome dinner. Not my aunts, busy with hair appointments and soccer games. Not my brother, out on the lake with his boat. Not a single one of my cousins who were already there, and no one came. They had all driven right past the airport on their way to the luxury cabin. They were probably laughing, drinking, and posting photos with number family first, while their mother, their grandmother, sat on a hard plastic chair under fluorescent lights, wondering where they were. A wave of hot rage washed over me so intense it made me dizzy. The voices in the room faded to a dull drone. The 26 million, the equity points, the men in expensive suits, it all became meaningless noise. There was only one thing that mattered, which is how I found myself in a taxi 4 hours later, racing toward Reno Tahoe International Airport. During that drive, I felt a strange sense of peace. The rage had subsided, replaced by singular focus. I didn't call my mom. I didn't text the family group chat. What was there to say? Words were meaningless. Their actions had said everything. The 4-hour drive gave me time to process my rage as I headed toward Reno Tahoe International Airport. The taxi driver kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror, probably wondering about the woman in business attire who seemed ready to explode. The airport was mostly empty when I arrived after 10 p.m. The cheerful bustle of day had been replaced by the quiet hum of cleaning crews and tired footsteps of late-night travelers. I found the baggage claim area, my heart pounding, and then I saw her, hunched over in an uncomfortable chair near Carousel 3, a small, frail figure lost in the cavernous space. She was clutching her purse with both hands the way she did when nervous. Next to her on the floor was her small suitcase and a crumpled itinerary. She was staring at the doors, at the spot where families greet loved ones. She was still waiting. I walked toward her, my footsteps echoing on tile. When she saw me, her face, etched with worry and exhaustion, broke into the most beautiful, relieved smile I'd ever seen. There was no anger, no blame, just love. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "I knew you'd come." Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them back. This wasn't the time for me to fall apart. I knelt in front of her. "I'm so sorry, Grandma. I came as soon as I heard." I touched her hand. It was ice cold. "Have you had anything to eat or drink?" She shook her head. I didn't want to leave my spot in case they came. She hadn't eaten. She was freezing in her thin cardigan. She hadn't had water in hours because she was afraid to lose her place, afraid to miss the family that was never coming. The sheer, breathtaking cruelty of what my family had done hit me like a physical blow. They hadn't just forgotten her. They had subjected her to hours of fear, discomfort, and humiliation. I took off my blazer and wrapped it around her shoulders. "Well, I'm here now," I said, my voice thick. "Let's get you out of here." I didn't drive to the cabin in Lake Tahoe. The thought of seeing my mother's or aunt's faces made me sick. Instead, I took Grandma to the nicest hotel in Reno. I got us a suite with 2 big soft beds and a view of the city lights. I ordered room service, warm chicken soup for her, a club sandwich for me. She ate slowly, gratefully, regaining her strength. She told me about her day, how she had called my mom when she landed, but it went to voicemail, how she called my aunts and no one picked up, how her phone died around noon, how an airport employee had let her use their phone, but the numbers she knew by heart just kept ringing unanswered. She wasn't complaining. She was just stating facts, her voice flat and tired. After she finished her soup, I helped her to bed. She was asleep almost instantly, the deep, exhausted sleep of someone who had been holding on too long. I sat in a chair by the window, watching her, and the anger returned, cold and sharp. I pulled out my phone and opened the family group chat. There were pictures of sunset over the lake, a video of my cousins laughing around a fire pit, a message from my mom. "Such a perfect first day. Wish you were here, Nicole." I took a deep breath and typed. "Grandma waited alone at the airport for 9 hours today. None of you came. I left a $26 million meeting in San Francisco to find her. She hadn't eaten or had water. She was freezing cold. Think about that." For a long time, there was nothing, just the digital silence of 30 people reading my words. Then the responses trickled in. My mom. "OMG, I thought Patricia was getting her." "Aunt Patricia." "I told you I had my hair appointment. I assumed Rachel had it covered." "Aunt Rachel." My phone was on silent during the game. Why didn't anyone call me? "My brother, Tyler." "My phone doesn't get service on the lake. This isn't my fault." Excuses, deflections, guilt wrapped in self-preservation. Not a single "I am so sorry." Not one "Is she okay?" But I wasn't done. This wasn't about shaming them. This was about changing everything. The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming into our hotel room. Grandma was still asleep. I looked at her peaceful expression and made a decision. We weren't going to Lake Tahoe. We were not going to participate in their charade of a happy family. When she woke, I had coffee and pastries waiting. "Good morning, Grandma," I said. "Change of plans. How would you like to go on a road trip, just you and me?" Her eyes lit up. "A road trip? Where would we go?" "Anywhere you want," I said. "Let's go see the Oregon coast. We can drive up the highway, stay in little inns, eat at clam shacks. No schedule, no family, just us." She cried then. Quiet, happy tears. "Oh, Nicole," she said, "that sounds like heaven." And it was. I officially canceled our appearance at the family reunion with a simple text. "Grandma and I will not be coming. We've made other plans." I turned my phone off. After breakfast, we checked out of the hotel and I rented a car for our impromptu coastal adventure. For the next 4 days, we drove north from Reno, through Northern California and into Oregon. We took I-80 west toward Sacramento, then north on I-5, and finally west on Highway 101 toward the coast. The wild Pacific on one side and dense forests on the other. We stopped at Cannon Beach and watched waves crash against Haystack Rock. We ate fish and chips out of paper baskets in Tillamook. We sang along to her old favorite songs. She told me stories I'd never heard, about her first date with my grandfather, about raising 3 daughters, about her secret dream of being a botanist. In the safety of my car, away from the judgment of her children, she became herself again. She wasn't an inconvenience or an afterthought. She was Olivia, funny, smart, and full of life. On our last evening, we sat on a balcony overlooking the ocean, wrapped in blankets. The sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. "Grandma," I said, my voice serious, "I need to make you a promise." She turned to me, her expression soft. "You will never be left behind again," I said. "From now on, I handle your travel. I handle your plans. If you need to go somewhere, you call me first. If you need anything, you call me. I will always, always pick up the phone. You will never wait at an airport again." She reached out and took my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "I know, sweetheart," she said. "I always knew I could count on you." In that moment, I felt closure. The $26 million deal could wait. It did, by the way. They called me Monday, and we closed it. The investors actually respected my decision to prioritize family, saying it showed the kind of character they wanted in a business partner. But it didn't matter. Walking out of that room wasn't about money. It was about choosing what kind of person I wanted to be. My family had made their choice long ago. They chose convenience. I chose character. I chose my grandmother. When we returned from our trip, I drove Grandma back to her small apartment in Portland to gather her essentials. 2 weeks later, after we had carefully packed her treasured belongings and said goodbye to her few close friends there, I helped her move to a beautiful senior living community just 10 minutes from my home in San Francisco. Over the next few months, my family tried reaching out multiple times, but their apologies rang hollow. Too little, too late. My mother and I now have a strictly cordial relationship, speaking only when necessary about family matters. My brother and aunts have largely disappeared from my life, occasionally sending holiday cards that I politely acknowledge. As for Grandma Olivia, she's thriving in her new community, has taken up watercolor painting, and has dinner at my place every Sunday. Some family bonds were irreparably broken that day at the airport, but the ones that truly mattered grew stronger than ever. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.